This one's wife. I want to reconcile, but the king won't speak to me. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Earlier, I explained to you that Harry has lost his appeal in the Court of Appeal against the decision to refuse him taxpayer-funded security. It's understood that he could be facing a legal bill of some £1.5 million, which he's capable of covering, but nevertheless, that is not going to please his handler, who is a somatic narcissist, wants other people's money and doesn't want to see her money, after all, Harry's money is viewed as her money because of her lack of boundary recognition, being spunked on things such as legal costs, and certainly when they lose. Following that, an interview with the BBC has been released. Interestingly, this was already prepared and wasn't a spontaneous interview. Clearly, Harry and his lawyers have known about the judgment for a day or two. It will have been embargoed by the Court of Appeal to prevent it being released until today. But in anticipation of that, the Prince of Whinging has decided that he would once again play the victim, taking to the interview to bemoan the situation that he finds himself in. Rather than reflecting on the defeat and what that actually means for him and also for this one's wife, the immediate response of the duo is to roll out the victim card once again. A short clip that is roughly 3 minutes long has been provided as part of the interview, and in this, Harry says that he wants reconciliation with the rest of the royal family. He said that he was devastated about losing a legal challenge over his security in the United Kingdom. He talked in the interview about loving his country, albeit, of course, he hasn't shown much love for it, given the fact that he no longer lives there, rarely visits, and has behaved in a way whereby he has not only behaved atrociously towards his late grandmother, but he's allowed his wife to behave in a similar fashion, calling into question the judgment of many people in the United Kingdom and portraying them as racists and haters. Harry bemoans the situation between him and King Charles, stating that he was cut off from his father when he undertook the interview, which was performed in California. Harry, demonstrating once again his victim mentality and how he rightly is known as the Ginger Whinger, stated, "He, the king, won't speak to me because of this security stuff." And he added that he didn't know how long the king had left to live. Well, the reason why the king hadn't been speaking to him is because the king was keen to ensure that there was no suggestion of interference by him in the actual decision. He had to be seen to stay out of it. Naturally, if Harry placed his family above his own selfish needs in respect of security, he could have decided, do you know what? I'm going to stop pursuing this case. Family comes first. My father has not got long to live. I'm going to drop this court case, do a deal with them, perhaps both sides bear their own costs, or I'll contribute something to them, because at the end of the day, this is what's stopping me having a reconciliation with my father. Therefore, I'm going to remove this barrier. I'm going to play the big man here. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to stop the court case. That means that we can then speak, because then the channels can be opened, because there's no suggestion of interference. But Harry didn't do this. Instead, he wanted to fight on because of the entitlement that both he and his wife exhibit towards the necessity of having this security paid for, because, and in particular this one's wife, and we know the hold that she has over Harry and how she exacerbates his narcissistic traits, she loves to look important as a consequence of having paid for security. We've seen this time and time again with the 4-car motorcades, the way that she walks across a parking lot with a bodyguard. Other people wander around without security, but not her. Her narcissism drives her to have it because she needs to create a splash, to create a drama, the near-catastrophic car chase in New York, for example, in order to be noticed, because that assists her with the pursuit of the prime aims. Harry explained in the interview, "There have been so many disagreements between myself and some of my family," he said, "but had now forgiven them." Well, that's big of him. He recognised in the course of the interview that people would not be pleased with what he'd written in his book. But once again, he shows an inability to comprehend that he is the one that's at fault, that it's he and his wife that have been causing the problems. He said that he felt let down, and, looking upset, he described his court defeat as a good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up and blamed the royal household for influencing the decision to reduce his security. The paranoia of Ginger looms large once again. Harry, if you've taken the time to actually look at the judgment, you will see that it is well reasoned. It is the law that is against you. It isn't a stitch-up. But this is the paranoia that exists within Harry, which is exploited regularly by his wife as a consequence of her absence of emotional empathy for him, whereby rather than realise you lost because the law was against you, and do you not get this, Harry? You are no longer a working royal. In no situation do you resign from a job and then expect years later to still have the perks of that job. When you stop that work, you lose the perks. That's the way that it works. And yet here he is, rather than realising that the law doesn't favour his case. Instead, it's, I've been stitched up. It's the establishment. It's the royal household. How have they influenced the decision? He doesn't say. Asked whether he asked his father, the king, to intervene in the dispute over security, Prince Harry said, I never asked him to intervene. I asked him to step out of the way and let the experts do their jobs. Well, what has he been doing then, the king? He has stepped out of the way. He has to be seen not to have any involvement. The prince said that his treatment during the process of deciding the security had uncovered my worst fears. He explained, I can't see a world in which I would bring my wife and children back to the UK at this point. It is entirely disingenuous as a consequence of Ginger's behaviour to do this. He knew, because the judgment will have been provided in advance, that he had lost. And rather than reflect on why that was and how the law was against him and how this would play out, what does he do? He organises with the BBC to whinge, to complain, to bleat, I want reconciliation, but my dad won't speak to me. Your father doesn't want to speak to you because you behave like an arrogant shit, and your wife has been atrocious with regard to the way that she has behaved towards a family that has welcomed her, that you've thrown brickbat after brickbat against the royal family, and yet you continue to suggest, I want to reconcile, but it's my father's fault that he won't speak to me. The lack of awareness from this plank, and of course the blindness generated by the narcissism of this one's wife, is no surprise whatsoever. Nevertheless, it shows the sense of entitlement driven by the pair of them, that the immediate response to the loss is to release an interview with the BBC crying out things are so unfair. Typical Harry and typical behaviour of the gruesome twosome. It's everybody else's fault but theirs. The royal family won't want to reconcile with two individuals who've behaved in such a traitorous fashion, but Harry and this one's wife don't get it. They don't get it because one is stupid and the other is clouded by her narcissism. Instead, they issue declarations about how hard done they've been, how they're frightened to return to the UK, failing to see the hypocrisy, as pointed out on many occasions, of Harry going to Ukraine, and for this one's wife and Harry going to Nigeria and Colombia. They make the noises about reconciliation, trying to portray themselves as the ones that wish to be fair, when all of the evidence points in the other direction. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.